I'm Led.
I'm Dr. John.
And this is Enuff Already.
And this is Andre, our first guest.
Very first guest.
So we're going to start the show.
Oh, there it is.
John keeps it straight and making sure it's tight together. There are forces of podcasting so fly. Truth and wisdom, reaching for the sky. And Dr. John, enough already landed up on the airways.
All right, well, let's get started here. This is Andre. He's from my pool league, oddly enough.
And he's a Marine.
Yeah, he's a Marine Corps veteran, we just found that out recently when we were talking about doing
I
the
want to say
show.
thank you, Andre.
Yeah, absolutely, thank you, sir. But Andre overheard me and John talking when we started this whole thing going, and said that he had something to say, and me and John told him that when we got up and rolling, we'd have him out. So here he is.
And he thought we were lying.
Yeah, he didn't think we were serious.
Yeah, I didn't think you guys are serious.
Well, me and John usually do what we say we're going to do.
So what are you thinking, Andre? What's on your mind?
Well, I mean, we got a lot to talk about, right?
Oh,
I mean,
man.
there's so much stuff going on, and even on the surface level, there's a lot to talk about. But you go in, further and further into it, you find out that it's even weirder than.
Well, we sat around and kicked it around the other night.
Yeah.
And it got really interesting, and it really made me think about some of the things we're talking about.
Right?
Yeah. I
And
think.
there's a lot of similarities too.
Similarities, we're talking about the Civil War.
Right.
Yeah, I think the Civil War. Interesting. We had. I'm talking about the real Civil War, not the movie that just came out. But
the movie.
We had a Civil War in this country, and I tell you, I went through high school. I went through my 20s, and late into my 30s till I really realized what was going on, or what happened during the 1800s.
Well, they're not going to teach us what really happened.
No, I really think that's on purpose. And when you find out what faction or who was who, then you start realizing why they kind of kept that, below your nose.
Right.
They didn't want you to really figure out who was who and what was going on.
No, because then they can't disguise everything, make people think what they want to think.
Yeah.
Right. And they don't want us putting two and two together.
No.
They don't want us to see the similarities.
And that's why we're here, to try to teach you people about some things so you can put two and two together.
And honestly, the Board of Education is a liberal arm of the government.
Exactly.
You got to think about it. The Board of Education, which really controls the curriculum of the nation.
How do they get so many
Department of
liberal,
Education, yes.
liberal people on these boards? It's like they gravitate to it.
Yeah. And that fast forwards to current time. The teachers union and all that. They're some of the worst.
They're the big lobbyist, one of the biggest lobbyists in Washington.
Yeah, and they're some of the meanest, worst liberals out there. And they're the ones that want you to,
Well, this all started with Jimmy Carter started the Department of Education in 1979, and it was basically put into effect in 1980. And at that time, we were number one in math and science. I mean, we sent people to the moon, that kind of stuff, and now we're like 29th. And so things have gone downhill.
Yeah.
And
but they could tell you what the Kardashians had for supper.
Right.
How screwed up is that?
Yeah. Well, it's just part of taking all your freedoms away and taking your liberties away. It's just one thing at a time.
It's about making the people brain dead.
I heard it described as the communist Democrats will try to after something, even though they know they can't do it. But every time they attack it, they'll take a chunk of it. And eventually, it'll weaken to the point where they can actually just control it. And that's basically what happened to education. Jimmy Carter, everybody thought it was a great idea, Department of Education. When in fact, it was probably the most horrible idea. And I can remember my father even saying that was a terrible idea. I was in junior high school.
The only thing the government never screwed up was cheese.
I don't know, man.
The government cheese was good. That's the only thing.
Hey, that stuff used to lock me up, man. It used to plug me up. I couldn't do nothing for 3 or 4 days. So I don't know if that was good or bad, but you needed a heat torch just to melt it, So yeah, the government, and you remember the one Trump hired, he installed one, 7 to 8 years ago. And man, they gave her all kinds of.
Oh yeah. Well, they didn't want. She wanted to change curriculums, and the Obamas had. That's where critical race theory came about. Was during the Obama administration, and she wanted to get rid of it. I mean, that was a big thing with Trump, was getting rid of critical race theory.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when he's reelected, don't be surprised when he just scraps the entire Department of Education, and just like Roe versus Wade, the Dobbs decision, he's going to send it back to the states to decide how.
Which it should be. The
Absolutely.
state should decide.
Absolutely.
The people of that state decide what they want.
Totally agree.
But
And the Chevron decision is going to help with all that too, because that's going to take a lot of the bureaucracy out of public schools.
What is Abe Lincoln thing we were talking about?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. I want to talk about the Civil War. I want to talk about how it started.
Let's talk about
All right,
that.
let's do it.
I want to talk about who the factions were, and I implore all the viewers and anybody to fact check me
they
in
will.
real time.
Yeah, jump right on your computer, people.
Because,
Check us.
Because it's actually nuanced. History, U.S. history is actually nuanced. As much as we had people recording the history, it was everybody's different perspective of what was going on.
Right.
But we go all the way back to the 1850s, back when, I'm going to say, Back to the Future 3. Remember when he went back to the Wild Wild West? I think that was 1855, if I'm correct.
Maybe.
I think so.
We're talking Michael J. Fox, right?
Yeah, Michael J. Fox, and I think he punched in 1855, which is that's where I want to start at, if that's the case.
All right, Back to the Future 3.
Yeah, Back to the Future 3. And Doc and Marty was there, and they're in the Wild Wild West, and you had Biff, who was a bad boy or whatever.
Oh, he was there too.
Great movies. But during that time, we were political climate was weird. It was there were multiple parties out there. It wasn't two-party system like we have nowadays, and the Democrat Party was actually kind of split. They were kind of divided. They had Democrats of the North. I can't remember what the party was actually called, and you had the Democrats of the South. They still had the same political ideals and everything, but they were
It was
split.
all about control. One of them wanted control, but the other one wanted the control too.
Yeah.
Where Republicans wanted to go with the control, let the people have the control.
So at the time, the
All
Republicans were just starting up. all
Right.
Yeah, Republican Party just started.
The Republicans, what they were a big amalgamation of a bunch of people. They were from all kinds of different parties, and actually there were all kinds of different cultures of people too. You had some northerner, I want to say, I don't want to use the term Yankee, but
But that's what
That
they
was
call
what
it.
it?
but you had these Dutch immigrant, that's been settled in America for a while, but they all had different cultures. But they came together. They said, okay, we want to run on the abolition ticket. That's what we want. We want to abolish slavery, and we want to run on that ticket as a political party.
Right.
And they took people from other parties.
Hear that, people?
And they all got together, and there was like 100 of them, as far as I know, and that's why they called them the Grand Old Party. That's why they called them the GOP.
GOP, correct.
Because they were a big party at the time, and this wasn't too much of a problem for the Democrats, because they didn't think there was a threat of it. But you roll on to 1860 in the presidential race, and lo and behold, their guy. Abe Lincoln won the president seat.
The second try.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was pretty much robbed from it the first try, kind of like Mr. Trump was back in 2020.
Well,
Yeah.
Allegedly, also, he didn't make it the first time, but also I hear that he wasn't quite sold on the Republican. I guess he had different political
Right.
ideas, so he wasn't quite sold on them, and we'll come back to that later because. It came to help him out during Gettysburg. But so 1860 wins the presidential seat, and at the same time, I think the Senate and the House were also Republican. So Republicans owned the majority of the House, the Senate, and the White House. And at this time, this really created problems for the Democrats, who at that time, I think they tried to join together as far as the North and South.
Well, yeah,
to
of course they
combat.
would.
Yeah. So what I didn't learn in school is these nicknames, North and South, and we'll get to that later. But the Civil War was about to begin because Republicans owned, all three arms of the House, Congress,
They
House,
had all
Senate.
three branches.
Yeah, they had all of them, and with that came all the legislation that was going to follow, and that legislation was definitely going to free the slaves. They were working towards that,
Which needed to be done.
which
Well, it's an evil practice anyway.
it
It
needed
still
to be
exists
done.
today. I mean, a lot of people won't like to admit it, but we still have slavery, even in this country. Still.
Yeah, and we need to define what slavery is because there's a lot of illegal aliens coming across the border.
Well, that's where we were taught, as you were too, that slavery was just a black man.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But if you stop and think about the word slave comes from Slovakian, who were your original documented slaves, which is they're white as snow.
Oh yeah, and there's still people enslaved right now.
Correct. Oh, yeah.
All over the world.
All over the world.
Well, most countries that have a stand have a lot of slaves.
Hell, most of us American people are enslaved to this government anymore.
Exactly right.
Well,
we're just a
I
different
mean,
style of
when
slavery.
you look at how we're taxed and
we're
everything
all
else.
definitely enslaved to the money system, the monetary system,
Yeah, that's
which
right.
we could talk about that in a whole nother show.
Oh, yeah.
But
We'll definitely have you back.
I hope so. But at this time, the Democrats started panicking, and this is when they once they realized they couldn't do anything as far as legislation wise, they couldn't stop what was coming, and the freeing the slaves and everything else. It wasn't just that.
Right.
And
was
they're
coming
doing
along
it
with
today. The Democrats are panicking.
We're getting back. We're gonna circle right to that.
You know they are.
And they're getting to that point right now. And
There's
but
just a correlation there. I mean,
once they realized they had no future, they couldn't do anything for at least the next 4 years. But it looked like it was going to be longer than that.
Right.
That's when they decided to secede the Union. And what I got tripped on when I was in high school and didn't learn anything, you had the Union, right? And you had when the Democrats seceded, they called themselves the Confederate States of America.
Correct.
And I didn't even learn that. They told me they were Confederates, but they didn't say that they named their own country. Instead of the United States, where we get the word Union from,
Right.
they called themselves the Confederate States of America, which
It's
is
a
where you get the
complete
Confederates
other country.
And they established the country. They went down south. They established the Mason-Dixon line, and this is where you get the nickname North versus South. But if you go back to Congress and you go back to Senate, there was a lot of senators and congressmen that were in the North that seceded the Union. So it had almost nothing to do with the geographical part of America.
Right.
It's just by the time they went down south and established the Mason-Dixon line, that's where we get the North versus South.
That's right.
And they moved into Texas, which was their capital. And of course, they started the war for Sumter. They moved down there, and some states wasn't really agreeing upon seceding the Union. They wanted to stay in the United States. Now, mind you, this has nothing to do with the actual citizens of these states. They didn't
they
vote.
had no choice in that.
They had no choice. They didn't vote. So the Union was the ones that came in and tried to protect them. But of course, we know about Sherman. If you don't know about Sherman, I advise you to look it up. But he stormed through Georgia and Atlanta, and there's still
Burned
a
it to
lot
the
of
ground.
dedication to it. But the point is the Democrats were the Confederates. They're the same people. When they defected or when they seceded the Union, they were the Democrats.
And they still are the same people.
They're
They still have
still
the
the
same.
and they're still working it the same way.
They don't like. They're all against civil rights. They're all against liberties.
Well,
They don't want us to be free.
Listen,
men.
they don't want to free the slaves. It's not
Right.
That's a fact.
And
They don't
it's
want to free the
weird.
slaves.
It's weird. And
The
like I said,
Democrats.
once you realize who they were, they took a capital in Texas. I can't remember what city, what town. I implore you to fact check me on that. But they were in Texas, and that's where their capital was. Our capital was Washington, D.C. Their capital was somewhere in Texas. And
Ed can find that on a computer.
yeah, years
Sure can.
years later, once they lost the Civil War in Gettysburg. Now, allegedly, Lincoln, took men into I got a brain problem.
You having a cramp?
I'm not as sharp as I used to be.
None of us are, my friend.
What was the general of the North and the general of the
Grant.
Union? Grant.
General Grant.
Yeah,
Robert E. Lee was the head of the
And Robert E. Lee.
Confederacy.
And Robert E. Lee, it's funny that you say that, because the Battle of Gettysburg pretty much ended the Civil War. And when they had that battle, they lost so many lives, so many soldiers died.
Yeah.
Now, rumor is, allegedly, I don't know if this is true or not, allegedly there were some slaves that were either living around there or traveling through that area, and they came across the battlefield, and it was so decimated that Lincoln somehow recruited them to fight for him, and that's what overthrew the actual war. That he used actual slaves or townspeople around there to boost his
Help
numbers.
fight the battle.
because they
Looks
were
like Richmond, Virginia was actually the Confederate capital.
Well, I just like Ed telling me
That's what I
Lyndon
was thinking.
Johnson was in 1876
That
or
was,
something.
come on,
I'm never going to let you forget that, Ed.
drinking, all right.
Virginia.
but they took Texas and
Right,
Oh, yeah,
Texas
they
was
took
part
Texas.
of them.
yeah,
Well, East Texas, West Texas is pretty much still under
right. So once they took Texas, of course they had a lot of slaves down there, and this is where we start getting into Juneteenth.
Sorry.
Juneteenth.
Yeah, Juneteenth. So years after the Civil War ended and the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, there were still people holding slaves.
And why didn't we call it that?
The Emancipation Proclamation?
No, why didn't we call it Emancipation Day instead of Juneteenth that we have now?
I don't think we should call it any of that. Like I said, once you find out who the captors were of these slaves, which were Democrats,
Yeah.
why were they still holding slaves after they lost the war?
Well, because they're Democrats.
Yeah, well,
That's what they
They
did.
were terrorists. They were terrorists of the country. Like, you lost. And the
And
United
what are
States.
people going to realize that how the Democrats have done everything in their power to stop any civil rights like that? I mean, every civil rights thing that's ever happened,
I think they jump on it, even though the Republicans are the one who abolished slavery.
they abolished slavery. The civil rights movement, backed by the Republicans and the Democrats, joined with the KKK. But these people aren't seeing that.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, and we can look this up too. I think there was a civil rights movement in the 1800s. I don't think the one in 1960s was the
Well,
first.
they probably aren't going to let us know about that.
No.
They buried that under the rug.
No,
They
yeah.
don't want no civil rights movement
I
in
can
the
tell you that every
1800s.
civil rights movement we've ever had has been voted to 100% by Democrats for no.
Hell, women didn't get to vote for like 1920 or something.
Right,
till they
but the
were allowed
first
to
time it
vote.
was brought up was in the 1880s, but
they
the
told
Democrats
no.
fought it.
No
till
women
finally-
vote.
Yeah, and
Now today they want all the legal immigrants to vote.
I think after Abe Lincoln, I think Democrats were kind of teeter-tottering back and forth in the House and in the Senate as far as getting majority, and they didn't pass any significant piece of legislation that helped the slaves or the women.
No,
Yeah,
and they're not going to.
And then we fast forward to the 1920s, and World War I started, and next thing you know, they started looking at more women as far as getting rights, and that was everybody. That was Republicans and Democrats, but they didn't gain traction back in Congress until the early 1900s. So they were cold for a long time after they lost the Civil War, and you gotta remember that the United States let them join the country again.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
they're the ones that defected and seceded, and not only that, they drew a lot of blood. They took a lot of lives.
Both sides did.
Yeah, both sides did. I mean, the Union was defending their country,
Yeah.
where the Confederates were trying to take it over, and so you're going to lose lives, but Confederates for what? Because you didn't have the votes in Congress.
I heard somewhere too that had a lot to do with money.
Oh, I'm pretty sure. I mean, farmers.
These rich plantation owners and different things with a lot of money and.
I mean, our country's wealth came from corn and cotton. So yeah, I'm sure you have lobbyists these days. I'm sure you had lobbyists back
A
then.
lobbyist, that should be outlawed.
Yeah.
There should be no such thing as a lobbyist
Yeah,
to
I
our
know.
government.
Yeah.
Nobody should be allowed to come in and give favors, prizes, money, stuff to our public officials that we
Bribes.
voted in office.
Let's be honest, they're just bribes.
Thank you very much. Nobody should be allowed to give. I was sugarcoated.
They're
Nobody should be
bribes,
allowed
yeah.
to bribe our officials
Yeah.
into what they want, and it's legal. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
as a
It's
civil
against
servant,
the law.
Yeah, as against the law, and as a civil servant, you shouldn't go into your political seat at one financial point in your life and then come out a millionaire or a billionaire.
No, something's wrong with that.
Yeah, there's something wrong with that. Like
Can't live without me.
Obama.
Yeah. We got book deals, you know.
he goes
Or
in.
paintings.
That's money
They
laundering.
do a lot of paintings too.
Yeah, your paintings. Yeah.
But to get back what we was talking about, now that that's back,
Sorry, got interrupted. Family matter.
well, emergencies happen.
Somebody wiped out a pole in my campground and knocked out my electricity, apparently.
Well, you'd be roughing it in your camper
Oh,
with no
I'm
power.
Gonna, no,
Oh,
I'm going to hook
God.
it right up to my truck and
Can
pull
you
it to the
imagine
inside.
that? Gotta be roughing it in the camper.
Roughing it in a camper. I had to go sit outside
If
because
you
it's too
think
hot.
I'm going to sleep in this hot weather with no air conditioner, you're wrong.
Yeah.
So where the hell were we?
Okay.
We're like we got real scattered around there.
Civil War. Democrats were the captors. They were still slave masters. They did not want to give that up.
But you're not black if you don't vote for Biden.
Oh, come on, man. Come
Well,
on.
he said it.
Yeah, he said
What
it.
do you think of that?
And it's like that should have cut a lot of black people out of
And it probably did. But the election was so screwed up.
maybe because I hear Trump's polling at like 25%
No, he's
black
which
right now.
which means a death sentence for Democrats,
Yeah.
even on the down ballot.
Yeah, they can't even pander like they wanted to, and like they did in 2020. They pander, and every election cycle they pander, and
That's the only time you hear it.
They tell you what you want to hear.
yeah, and then they get in office and they don't do anything. And
Well, no, they do things, but then they accuse other people
They don't
of
do
doing
anything
what's
to me.
wrong. They do it and it's wrong, and then
Listen,
they accuse
they've
the other
also-
side of doing it.
They've also paid off millions and millions of black people with taxpayer money for that vote, particularly vote. You know what I mean? And which is completely not fair. Not just black people, but millions and millions of people all together.
So I grew up a Democrat. I grew up in Medina, went to Medina High, and I grew up a Democrat. Both my parents are Democrat. And I'm telling you, I was 30
And you
something
didn't know
years
why,
old.
did you?
I had no idea.
Didn't know why he's Democrat.
I asked my
Just said
mom,
we're Democrats.
I was 30 something years old. I asked my mom. I said, "Why are we Democrats?" She said, "Well, because Democrats are for the people." And
That's what everybody used to think.
this was right before Obama got elected. I voted for Obama, and probably about a year later, I'm waiting. It's 2009, 2008.
What's going to happen?
You're waiting
I'm
for
like-
that hope and change he was talking
I'm
about.
I'm waiting for something. I'm waiting, in particular, I'm waiting for something to happen substantially for black people. If we're so,
I was waiting for, you know what I was waiting for something of? I was waiting for some unitedism, some unity.
Yeah.
I thought, man, maybe we can have some unity
It
in
was
this
just the
country.
opposite.
No,
It was just the opposite.
he created race war.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
It was just-
I
Exactly
thought,
right.
man, maybe we'll get some unity here, and we'll get rid of all this race issues, and we'll get rid of all this
But he
crap.
made it 10 times
and,
worse.
And he just split everybody apart.
he
worse.
made people hate each other.
Well, every time something happened, it was blown out of proportion, much like it still is, like with George Floyd, or your Trayvon, who got,
Yeah,
who
I mean-
attacked a man and the guy defended himself, but that was a huge story.
And how did that actually help black people? The
didn't.
Trayvon Martin thing was
It didn't help
bad.
anybody.
He had bad comments on that. He said, "Oh, if I had a son, he looked just like us."
Right.
But you didn't say what.
Would your son attack somebody on the
Right. You
show?
didn't say that he actually did it. You didn't say,
Well,
"Hey."
look at Michael Brown in Missouri.
Yeah, I was living out there when that
Right,
happened.
Was ya?
he just strong-armed robbed a store owner.
So you got to
He
witness
tried to
a
take
lot
the
of
guy's
that.
gun. He tried to take the cop's gun.
Right. I can't breathe. Remember that one too?
And I remember the
George Floyd.
video going online, and I remember seeing him laying there, and somebody's videotaped just
And
like
you know
George
who
Floyd.
backed all them people?
Right. They were videotaping
The
it.
Democrats.
Of
Oh,
course.
look how awful. The Democrats. Oh,
Of
look
course.
what they're doing to these people.
Well, here's
And I was with him. I was like, I'm like, they did that guy wrong, man. They shot this guy in the middle of the street.
It pissed me off too until
And
the
I'm
text came
thinking,
out.
and once I started reading about it, and what people don't know during this time, because I lived out there in St. Louis, is that the cops and the gangsters had a war going on themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Still do.
there was a story, and you can fact check this as well. There was a story that one of the gangsters killed a cop. And once he killed a cop, he posted it on whatever the social media at the time was.
Yeah.
Maybe it's MySpace at the time.
Something like that.
And of course, this enraged the cops. And from that day, the cops were trying to, get revenge. And Michael Brown might have been part of that neighborhood that did that.
But after that happened, they're not going to take no chances with anybody.
Oh yeah. But the political part, the Democrats, they use that to their advantage.
Well, they burned cities
Well,
down
you
over
never
George
let a
Floyd, and
crisis
his
go to
coroner-
waste.
His coroner report says he died of a fentanyl overdose.
Oh, of course.
And then they put a police officer in jail for 20 years.
George Floyd
He's
is
been
no
he
hero.
got attacked and stabbed over 20 times.
Oh, yeah.
Almost killed him.
Almost died.
By Democrats.
And Derek Chauvin, and I watched that trial, and Derek Chauvin's attorneys, they were spot on everything.
Right. Didn't matter.
And what people don't know is that Derek Chauvin's knee never touched his neck.
Right.
It was a significant gap, probably about 1 inch.
Well, even
and,
the coroner's report says there's no damage whatsoever to his neck.
No, yeah, there was nothing. There
He
was
died
no,
of a heart failure from fentanyl overdose.
But
overdose. They
it's
proved that in court.
It's another crisis or another explosion of an event that the Democrats latch onto because they're going to not waste it.
Well, that's
Right.
They can use it to their
And they're
advantage.
gonna do another
And then
one.
they can bullshit their way into making people believe
That's
what
the election
they're
coming
saying.
up.
They're going to try it again before the election, I'll guarantee you.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I just there was something just happened in the news just yesterday or today. Somebody got killed by the police, and he was unarmed, and there were police jumping on him, and it was bad. And I'm like, here we go again.
Yeah.
Here we go
Who was that
again.
young man that was killed in Cleveland? A 12-year-old kid who had the toy gun.
Yeah, I had a toy gun.
He was 12 years old, but he was 6'2", 190
Yeah,
pounds. He was
yeah,
a big
and-
boy.
and
And he
he-
didn't look like a 12-year-old kid.
The way he was playing with the gun.
But he had a gun in the park.
Where are you going?
And the cops pulled up and told him to drop it. He basically pointed it
Yeah,
at him.
he started playing with him like he was being. But you can't tell people that. I get
Right.
it.
It's on video, but
Yeah.
you still
And
can't
it's a
tell
shame.
people
And
that.
yeah,
Oh,
because
it's a damn
shame the whole
shame.
Because you
thing's-
pull
it's a
that
shame the whole thing
heartstrings,
happened.
everybody gets emotional
Right,
over it, and they
right.
don't really know what they saw.
Exactly right.
And they don't care to even go back to look
But you
at.
walk in that cop's shoes every day.
Oh, man.
All the stuff going on, people
I'm
doing
not putting
things.
my life at
He just
risk
got
for-
fired from another job
You know.
because they connected him with that whole situation.
Imagine
He could
clocking
go
into
he could
work.
go to jail for it.
Imagine
Wonder if
clocking
you're
into
going to come
work.
home that night.
Yeah, getting in your cruiser and some 12-year-old kid wants to point a gun at you.
Right, right.
That's
Oh,
freaky
it-
scary, man.
I have
You don't wanna shoot
family
him.
and law enforcement, so it is
A
scary.
lot of these patrol cops, I mean, even in Medina, they're wearing ballistic vests.
Sure.
It's like, what's going to happen in Medina if you need a ballistic vest?
Yeah,
I don't blame
need
them.
it.
I
It
don't
could
want to
happen
go to work and
anywhere.
die.
It could happen anywhere.
Yeah, it can happen anywhere.
It can happen anywhere. You ready for the?
3-minute rant.
3-minute rant time?
We're gonna 3-minute rant.
All right, here we go, people. It's time for our 3-minute rant. Andre's going to be part of our 3-minute rant tonight.
On inflation.
Talking about inflation.
We're gonna add time because we got an Andre. We're gonna go 5
A
minutes.
5-minute rant because Andre.
Yeah.
Got to have
Well,
an extra minute and a half
if
for a
we're-
man.
If we're going to talk about inflation, we need to start calling it what it is. It is Biden-flation.
Exactly.
All the
right.
inflation
I
that
love
we
it.
know, it completely caused by him and his administration.
Right.
And you know what? You know what else? It shouldn't be called inflation. It should be called deflation because to control the price, all the product is getting smaller.
And it's deflating.
They're making everything smaller and selling it to you. It's good. Look how cheap it is,
And
but it's a
deflating
third
my checking
smaller.
account.
It is. It is. It really. If you're in denial if you cannot tell a significant difference in your bank account right now.
Oh my God.
Or your bills.
Electricity
or
is
your
higher,
food.
gas is higher, all this stuff is higher. That's coming out of your check. And yeah, I gotta admit, I had a raise at work, you know.
Right.
But
You didn't notice.
But it didn't cover. It did not cover. I am
carry-
not more wealthy than I was 4 or 5
I
years
carry
ago.
$100 worth of groceries under my arm.
Oh yeah. It happens all the time at Walmart.
Yeah.
At Walmart.
You know where inflation gets you worse is freaking healthcare.
Oh.
Everybody's premiums went up the roof.
Oh yeah, my insurance cost for my business went way up.
Your pills are crazy.
Everything's
Oh, yeah.
up. And I just heard Joe go, inflation's coming down.
Yeah.
And
No.
then
Prices of things are coming down.
Anyway.
Whispering Joe Biden.
You got experts making the numbers go down.
My wallet is still thin, man. That thing
Yeah, I
is
wonder who's
anorexic.
doing the math. Who's
Right.
doing the math?
You know.
Biden.
Because I look at their math and go 8%, 7%, and I'm going, damn, that's twice as much as it used to be. That's 100%.
You watch
not
it. He's got
8%.
15 Nobel Prize winning lawyers and
Oh, yeah.
economists.
Baccalaureates. And
Well, they didn't go to school for math because
No.
they can't add up or multiply by for shit.
You had 35 more, and you got the same guys that wrote the laptop from hell was fake.
hey, they're using that Terrence Howard math, man. 1 times 1 equals 2.
right? Right?
Oh man, 1
That
times
is-
1 equals
yeah.
I'm still broke, man. Like I shouldn't
We're
be
all
paying
broke.
this much for afford groceries.
Well, you can't afford nothing. You can't go to a vacation. You can't go to a rock show. You can't do anything.
That's what they
anymore.
want because they want to come to. The Democrats want to come to the rescue.
Right.
Once you're
Yep.
poor and
Help,
and,
help,
yeah.
help.
And not only that, they want you spiritually
Biden said the
poor.
inflation's coming down. They're almost back to the prices when he took office.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where?
Beats the shit out of
Ethiopia,
me.
Maybe.
I saw a TikTok.
Maybe it depends.
I've got $70 in gas in that truck in the last 3 days, so don't tell me that crap.
I saw a TikToker. I guess they, 4 years ago, they bought something on Amazon, a bunch of groceries.
Right.
And
They
stuff.
redid it again.
And they redid it again.
It's
All
like
they did was
it was almost triple.
It was triple. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It
wild.
was like $114 during Trump, now it's $400
Which
some
would be
dollars
more than 9%.
Definitely more than 9%. Yeah. Probably 300%.
And look
And
how
that's not the right kind of math, see?
Yeah,
You
it's
got to divide the number by this, multiplied by the second number.
my
then you
question is-
subtract the whole thing
Yeah.
and add 4.
Yeah.
You get 9%.
Yeah.
where's all this money, extra money going that we're paying?
Yeah,
You know what I
it's
mean? We're
going
still, the country's still 30
Well,
plus
one
$20
thing,
in
the
debt.
one thing
Tony
I got to
Frank.
give that Joe Biden does is corporate greed because they're getting away with it because of inflation. They're jacking the shit out of their
Right.
prices and charging us
Right.
more and saying everything's costing so much, but they're doubling the cost of what things are
They're all
costing them.
making the same
and they're
amount of
doubling
money.
their profits.
And they're creating a need. They're creating a need for them
Exactly
to stay in
right.
power.
Yep, yep.
Oh, yeah.
Socialism 101.
right there.
Yeah, man, we don't need that as a country, man. I know all the socialists, they hate capitalism. They're like, capitalism was what made us the greatest country
Exactly
on earth.
right.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Oh,
And that's a
over.
3-minute rant.
5 minutes
We'll be
today.
back, man.
We'll be back.
We'll
Tell
be
them,
back.
Andre.
We'll be back.
Okay, we're back.
And we're going to discuss Peto's press conference the other night.
Oh, yeah.
The big boy press conference.
Oh, yeah.
Everything.
Well, anyway.
Excuse me.
All signs of Alzheimer's or dementia.
Ain't that the
My
truth?
dad's
signs.
got dementia.
Oh, yeah.
I know
My grandma
exactly
had
what
it.
it looks like,
Mhm.
and Joe's got it.
That's what he's got it. He's
Joe
got
had it in 2020.
And
all to this the thick skin on the neck. The neck is not rigid. It's rigid skin. And I don't know if you ever noticed that because people were saying that he
Right.
was wearing a mask, but no,
It's
that's
still-
not a mask.
well,
It's rigid
I
skin.
feel bad, even though I can't stand a man. I still feel bad for him because he's got that. My
Kinda.
dad's
But
going
he
through that.
answered
and
all
it's
the
terrible.
questions
Kinda.
and he
It's
knew
terrible.
all the
Kinda.
facts. Remember
And
that?
I'm not feeling too sorry for him because they
They're-
are abusing him.
They're hideous people. I don't
But
feel sorry for
this
them.
guy's done a lot of bad stuff in his days, man.
When he
A lot
had
of
his
bad
brains.
stuff.
When he had his
Well, I
brains.
don't feel bad about that.
The Tara Reid
pisses
stuff,
me off.
the daughter Ashley Biden.
Yeah.
Come to find out, that's been confirmed, unconfirmed. She has the
A little
diary.
passive aggressive attack on her dad, but still.
Yeah, and you go into the some of the remarks about Hunter Biden and Jill
2
Biden.
of his 3
And
children.
you know what I love the most? I picked Trump because I knew she could be a good vice president.
And Trump ain't planning on
He
changing
had
his
Trump
gender
on the
or
brain
anything.
so bad, it was even his vice
And
president.
Putin.
I don't know. I think.
And
I think
President Putin.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my favorite. When he Vladimir Putin when he introduced the president
Yeah.
of Ukraine.
And here's
Good
my
going, Joe.
Here's my
You know,
problem.
somebody
with
was
that.
like, "Psh, Joe.
Oh no, he did it again.
Putin has said on record many a times, if Ukraine joins NATO,
Yeah,
and
well-
he had this whole interview
yeah.
with Tucker Carlson. Remember
Yep,
that?
yeah, oh, yeah.
And he goes through all the history of Ukraine and everything, which I didn't know. And
I
I think many people in America didn't know this. Okay, that Russia completely used to own
all of it.
That's
Yeah.
Russia. So he goes into history of that, and he is advised if they join NATO, a war starting.
Well, think about it. The equivalent of them joining NATO would be like Russia moving nuclear weapons into Cuba
Or even closer,
or Canada.
Florida, Canada.
Right.
That's a good example.
But if we do let that happen and we do start a war, who makes money?
Oh, yeah.
All our
The
military,
industrial military
factory-
complex.
Yeah.
all our manufacturers of military equipment.
Listen, you know where they're recruiting the most people for the military right now? At your Pride events. And the reason they're doing
I
that
don't
is
want them fighting.
the reason they're doing it.
We ain't gonna win the war
they're not
there, are
fighting-
we?
They're not
Throw a
gonna-
dildo at
No,
us.
they're going to fight us.
Oh, probably, but I'm not worried about it.
Listen, those guys have no problem going to a church and pretending that they're all cool with the church and then calling up saying, hey, you know.
I got a
my-
problem with that.
My pastor spoke out against,
yeah.
you know what
Got
I
a
mean?
problem
Next
with
thing you
that.
know, he's in handcuffs and hauled off to
Oh
the
yeah,
fucking
they've
gulag.
already done that in Canada, especially Canada.
Right, exactly right. But it's weird that, you
They're
know.
recruiting from the LGBTQ for the military.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What are they going to do?
they're going to beat us with dildos.
Yeah, they're
Something.
gonna throw them at you.
Listen, what they're going to do is they're going to go get men with guns that are brainwashed into believing this bullshit that they're constantly fucking pounding on us.
Well, I think the Democratic Party is being overran by black women. I think black
Agreed.
women vote at the highest.
Extremists.
They vote at a 95% rate. That's higher than any other
Right.
I'm going to
Democrat.
catch a lot of flack for this, but you know what the worst Democrat is? A white woman school teacher.
Exactly.
They're
right.
bad.
Oh my
They're
God,
bad.
they are horrendously
They are bad.
You can't have a
Well, nothing's worse than
conversation
a
with
white
them.
woman
No.
liberal.
They
And
don't
they're-
talk civil to you.
they're
They
grooming-
just fly into a frenzy and it's
They're
done.
more than okay to groom your kids, even though they're teaching your kids. They're grooming your kids.
Not all of them, but tons.
No,
of
no,
them.
no, not all.
Liberal white women.
I grew up with
school
some teachers, and
I had some fantastic teachers when I grew up, but that's back in the
and
day.
there's some teachers that my kids had throughout their school year, and they're just great people all around. But no, there's ones that I don't know, and you see them all the time.
Probably
on
all
YouTube.
liberal school teachers are the
And
worst.
it's like they're going to a school, learning stuff. Oh, college. Oh, college.
The universities.
They're
Oh my
being
God.
completely radicalized on college campuses, and then they take that straight to an elementary school or a junior high.
Well,
or
you know
something
what
like
that is, though. That's a plan. They
Sure.
do that on purpose.
Yeah, it's
Who was it-
communism.
Who
Yeah.
was it that the Russian guy before Putin
The
He said-
the real bad guy.
said
Stalin?
we'll take
Stalin, yeah.
no what the hell was his name? He said we'll take your country over from the inside.
Gorbachev.
No.
Yeah, I think it
Gorbachev.
was, maybe.
No,
But he-
Gorbachev was kind of
But
friendly.
he said we'll take your country
one who
over
tore
from
the
the
wall down
inside,
Berlin.
and they knew exactly where to go, and that would be the universities.
Well, it's a known fact that
and
capitalists will
pollute-
sell you the
polluted.
rope in which you're going to hang
I
on.
mean, you might be talking about Stalin there.
It is
Well,
now.
Fact check it.
Fact check that.
Yeah.
He said we'll take your
But,
country over from the inside,
yeah, the
without,
inside-
without firing a shot.
The easiest way to do that right now, they're doing it to the district attorneys and
Oh,
the
the
AGs
judges.
and the judges. They're really getting them, and but start at the universities. I mean, think about it. Who's protesting right now over Israel
And back at Hamas.
Yeah.
And don't even know why.
Yeah, and
Because they're told,
yeah.
these.
If the LGBTs go to Hamas and try that stuff, they're gonna get thrown off a building.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, you're gay. We're going to dump you up a
Yeah,
building.
yeah,
we don't
yeah,
like you.
Gays
your
from
kind.
Hamas crack me up.
They're coming up to congressmen, leaving their offices and their chambers. They're coming up to them and threatening them. Like, why are you not supporting Hamas? Oh, well,
Oh,
terrorists.
Khrushchev said that. Nick.
Yes.
Khrushchev, I don't know how you say that. How would you say that?
I
Andre?
would say Khrushchev. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. But I think there are also ones that said that the capitalists will sell you the rope in which they hang themselves.
What was that, 3-4 years ago? The Chinese, they had another big conference where they were talking about, destroying us, America from the inside.
Right. Well, they're actually moving the Chinese in to the point where there's like 30,000 of them in here right now.
Well, Mitch McConnell, I mean.
They're all in California. Oddly enough.
Mitch McConnell married him. Yeah.
True
I mean,
that.
she is CCP. I mean,
And look at Eric Swalwell, who was
yeah.
banging,
Yeah.
what was her name?
Chinese spy.
who was lucky to
Fang
get it.
Fang.
Fang, yeah.
Who was
Name
lucky
like
to get
Fang
a piece.
Fang, and you think
Probably the only poon he ever got.
Fartwell, Eric Fartwell, yeah. I thought they
Insane.
added that noise. When he farted on camera,
Ah, man.
I thought they added that noise. No, he really did fart. It's like,
No, that's
He's
a good
catching
story.
pointers from Joe Biden.
yeah, Biden did it too.
The only
Yeah.
difference is he didn't shit his pants.
We don't know. It might have been a little wet. It might have been a little wet. Eric Shartwell.
Shartwell. That's a good name for him, Eric Shartwell.
But the press conference was a joke.
Joe Biden.
I don't think you could get. See, I don't think you could get a funnier skit on Key and Peele or Saturday Night Live. You cannot do that funnier than what we saw in
But
real
it's not
life.
going to change a thing. He's still going to be their candidate. He's still
I'm
going to.
glad.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm rooting for him.
But because it's all in his court, whether he wants.
FJB
Well, it's more
2024.
like in Jill's
Yeah.
court, who
So you can
actually
lose.
hates him.
He's the best candidate the Republicans have. He's the best candidate that we have.
Yeah.
He's doing. That's why Trump hasn't made any.
Yeah, he's quiet. He's been quiet.
Because he's just letting this guy.
Well,
do
you
all
never
the talking.
interrupt your enemies when they're eating each other.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and they are eating each other up.
Left and right.
It's gonna get better. The show is gonna really get good here. You just wait.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, what do you
it's gonna
think?
get
We're
worse.
going to call it a night, guys?
Yeah, I think we're about done.
We're about out.
Andre,
You're gonna have me back.
we're
Absolutely.
absolutely gonna have you
All
back.
right.
Thanks for coming tonight. Everybody say hey to Andre. Our email is Ed and Dr. John at gmail.com. We're going to go TikTok live pretty soon one night.
As soon as we figure it out.
As soon as we figure it out, we're low tech. What do you think, Andre?
tech
Good
tards.
I don't
time?
know. You did pretty good on the IT. We got the sound going. We got the laptop. Sooner or later, man, this will be a whole studio.
No, that's going to be there in the other barn.
Oh, okay.
Unless we make a lot of money, then we'll turn
Yeah,
this barn into a
Yeah,
studio.
it could happen. It could happen.
So, music maestro.
Out to job.
See us next time. Thanks for watching.
Good times.
That was great.
Come here, Shelly.
Brains